All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. We're going to talk about some bookish drama today. It's going to be fun. Let me give it a minute. I know it takes like 30 seconds for YouTube to catch up with StreamYard. So I'll give it a minute. And then,
so yeah, it's going.
Okay, we're getting there.
There we go. We're up.
Yay! Hello. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves. We're super excited. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about some of the messiness, the bookish drama that has happened in 2020. There's been a lot of it. There are some topics that we're not talking about today that are coming in the next Chapter 3 podcast episode, which is very exciting. So if you want to hear us talk, we have a lot of ground to cover today as it is, but if you want to hear us talking about authors behaving badly and YouTubers behaving badly, check out that podcast episode coming like 2 weeks from yesterday, basically. But early for patrons of the Chapter 3 podcast if you want to do that. So very exciting. Today we have lots of other stuff we're going to be talking about. So I'm so happy. And there are very good reasons that I specifically invited Izzy and Jess to join me for these conversations. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves in case people don't already know who you are and what you do, that'd be great.
Sure. Hey, I'm Izzy from Happy for Now. I do a monthly Romancelandia roundup situation where I run through all the drama and fun times of Romancelandia specifically.
I need it. I'm Jess from my channel is just Jess Owens, and obviously most of you know Nigel. And I have a BookTube channel, talk about books, but I also do the book communiTEA where I kind of do a roundup of all the mess that specifically happens on book Twitter, but sometimes things outside of there.
Yeah, I haven't seen your latest one yet, so I'm gonna have to catch up on that after this.
I know, same.
All right, awesome. So we have a list of things that we're going to be talking about today. And like they said, both of them do have segments on their channels where they cover bookish news and drama and things. And so they seemed like the perfect people to help me talk about all the stuff, because it has been a year, guys. 2020. It has been a year. Okay, yes, I need to watch the latest communiTEA. I saw it come through my subscription feed.
I did too. I was like, I don't have time.
You know?
Beat it up.
I love it. Okay, so like I said, if you want to hear about authors and YouTubers behaving badly, check out Chapter 3 podcast in 2 weeks. But we are going to talk about some other big things that happened this year. I don't know where you guys want to start. Like, we've got a lot of ground to cover. I think one place we could start with this is publishing paid me.
Yeah.
Started this summer. And that was so interesting. I don't know. And whoever kind of I can talk about this, or one of you guys can start it off. Either way.
I actually saw something yesterday that I felt like related back to publishing paid me.
Great.
On Twitter. I don't know if anybody follows Fonda Lee, who wrote the Jade City. That's the book. She was talking about how like she barely made above minimum wage this year.
I saw that.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Because all I've seen is that book everywhere. And I want to read it this year because like everyone's talking about how cool it is. And it's like, I just blew my mind. Because I feel like people really do think that if you get a book published, you're making 6+ figures a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of thought that before kind of getting into the bookish world, and especially publishing paid me. But yeah, she was like categorizing her books as like a cult classic because all these people seem to be talking about it. Then also our book sphere is kind of, it seems huge, but it's also pretty small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to give, for anybody watching who doesn't know about this, to give an overview of what this is this summer, this hashtag began. Publishing paid me. I think, was it LL McKinney who started the hashtag? I want to say, I think it was, I think it was LL McKinney. And the idea was to shine a light on the fact that white authors are often, and especially white male authors, are paid typically a lot more in terms of advances for their books.
Yeah, because that one book, the Kate 800,000 book.
Yes. which was, oh, that was bizarre. So
that,
bizarre.
That bizarre book that no one had heard of, and he made how much money?
Yeah, he got $800,000 for that.
And I heard it was not great. But regardless of that, specifically, like I think what's really wild is to look at how much money people were making, even like really big authors like N.K. Jemisin. It was like shocking, like after having like a Hugo award-winning books, and she still wasn't getting huge advances. And so people started sharing, and it's something that hadn't really been talked much about publicly. And I think somebody put it together in a spreadsheet too of all the people who shared. What was interesting was there were very few white men who actually said what they were paid, which
because they know. Are you kidding me? They know. We would have been there roasting.
Yeah.
Throw them in the fire.
It is wild. Yeah, I think that Jen, this is interesting. You're right. Like there are some indie authors who do really well, but only in certain genres, and they have to do everything themselves. Like you have to do.
Isn't the twist on that also, right? So you have to market yourself. You know, like Kennedy Fox, I think, and like Katie Robert makes a lot with her self-publishing. I think. I mean, she doesn't share her numbers. I don't know for sure, but I would assume so. Like she's got Patreon, she's got releases out constantly, she's got a massive backlist. But like to make bank being an indie romance publisher, you are like writer, I feel like you have to have a massive backlist because people then will go read your whole backlist, because KU also does not pay that much. So like if you have Kindle Unlimited, they're getting like pennies on the page turns.
Yeah.
So
like not even pennies.
You have to have like a volume. So you already have to build some sort of following. So I think it's hard to know what's the way to go.
Yeah.
Then
this is like Roxanne Gay got like 10,000 or 15,000. It was
I thought it was also interesting because N.K. Jemisin said she likes her lower payouts because she gets royalties more regularly and sooner.
Yeah.
Which is the other thing you have to weigh the part on, right? Like, do you want regular paychecks or do you want a big advance?
I think this is really true, especially for the midlist. And I think in YA, especially, this is true for a long time. It seems like there were a lot of really big, like you would hear about these like 6-figure advances. But that is really going away most of the time. But I think the thing is especially what they were highlighting is the disparity in what was being offered to authors of color and to women. And that was a lot of the problem that Publishing Paid Me was pointing out, which I think is really important to consider. And then they'll lift up people like, you know, Tomi Adeyemi, for example, of like the one person of color who got a really big advance, but like
and Angie Thomas.
And Angie Thomas. Okay, yeah. But like that's like two, right? That's two authors. I mean, it's
not enough.
People love to point to that though. They'll be like, but didn't she? And she got a movie deal, and you're like, one out of how many?
Yeah. Right. Beth, this is true, although I would say that there's still a disparity between white female authors and female authors of color, but you're right. Definitely the people who are making the most money is white men. That is very true. It is shocking. Yes. 100%.
N.K. Jemisin's blew my mind because I was just like, but I love you. Why are you not making more money?
Right.
Everyone I know loves her. Like I don't know anybody who doesn't like her books.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good. Yeah, no, I think people are talking. There is a lot of expenses, a lot of hours. Like if you're indie, you have to be churning them out really quickly. You have to do all the marketing yourself. You have to pay for editing. Like there is a lot of work, but if you can do it, it can be good in certain genres.
Do you think you have to be putting a book out like every other month almost in indie?
Right.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, paying as little as they can get away with is a problem. Yeah, this is true. Well, and I think the other problem with this is there's also a disparity in the promotion they're getting in traditional publishing, that there aren't as many frontlist titles that they're really pushing by authors of color, where they won't get as much support as they maybe could. So even you might get really good books that get kind of lost in the shuffle. And that's also really unfortunate.
Yeah.
And that was for a YA fantasy. Yeah. I know, it's wild, Roxanne Gay. It is pretty wild. So I think that was a really big step forward in raising awareness of what was happening. Do you guys have anything else on that specifically you want to comment on? I'm trying to think, like,
No, I just think it's interesting. I mean, I kind of equated it to like, if you read anywhere, like people think that like we make bank on YouTube.
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? Like you go out in the world and people think, oh, you have a YouTube channel. You're like, they think you're like, whatever. I don't know who the big YouTubers are. I don't watch them, but
or something. Like,
yeah, like, you know what I mean? They all think we're Jenna Marbles, like we're bringing in bank or something. And it's like, no. Like those people all make money through other things as well. And yes, they make bank, but that's, you know, the scale. It's like, I just feel like there's no grasp on the scale. I don't know.
But I hope the article, or I hope that putting out the authors can or know their worth, but I don't know if them demanding more if publishing is actually going to pay them. Like they often know.
Yeah.
I would hope those receipts, like I know you paid this person who, because there was a lady who said she had like one article that went viral or something, and she had like a $400,000 advance or something, and she was comparing it to Roxane Gay, who had already had 2 or 3 books. Mm-hmm. I wonder if there will actually be a change if they're like, I know what you're paying, pay me, but American Dirt.
Oh, that book. That book.
Oh, yeah. No, I think this is exactly true, that there are other titles that could be pushed, and why are they choosing that one? And yeah, this is an issue too, that like there are people who are publishing too many and they just can't. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that's going to change. Like less is getting acquired and published in YA right now. And I think like Alexa Dunn has a great video talking about this, of like trends in publishing that she's seeing for YA. But yeah, it's wild. Yeah, people do not pirate books. Like use your library or buy the ebook or wait for it to come.
That's the drama on Book Talk right now, y'all.
Oh yeah,
that's literally going around Book Talk right now is a huge debate around piracy. Look, pirate book. Listen, if you're gonna pirate books, pirate your textbooks for college.
Yes.
The pirate those. They don't have your money.
Can you curse on live? I'm sorry. The tweets I've been seeing were readers from like the global south. So they were like, if you are, I saw someone's tweet and said, if you're from the UK, the EU, US, then you don't enter this conversation and bring up libraries because you have a privilege that we don't. And so I'm just like, it's hard because it's just like pirating is not good, but then also, yeah, they don't have as many resources. So
yeah,
it's a very nuanced conversation that I do not believe can happen on TikTok or Twitter. No. We would need a whole live.
Yeah. Ooh, I think, I don't know. I mean, I just think there are ways around it. Like even there's stuff like if you have ebooks on Amazon, you can lend them to friends. So like pool resources with people and like buy the ebook and share it. Like, I mean, like there.
Yeah, I mean, do you know how many friends have my login for my kids? Or my Audible? Like a bunch of my friends, like we all share that stuff. And
okay, thank you. This is fair. Like,
fair. But they're so expensive.
Period. Just don't do it. I mean,
my problem is that textbooks are just $500, and that's a problem.
I saw Martha Wells.
Interesting. Yeah, go check that out.
Yeah, I remember Martha Wells having that thing.
Yep. Yeah. So just don't do it. There are other ways around it. I get that it is harder in some parts of the country, or some parts of the world, but I mean, yeah, it's like I do think there's a conversation to be had about like access to books. But I don't think piracy is the answer.
Yeah, no, there needs to be a bigger conversation in publishing around cost pricing. Also, like, why are you charging me $9.99 for a new release on ebook?
Oh my god!
But then in 2 months they drop it to $2.99.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't buy new releases ever on ebook because in 2 months it goes on sale.
Well, especially ebooks, I have a hard time with it because it's like you're not actually even purchasing it. You're just like renting the ability to use it. So I don't know. Yeah, I tend to wait until things go on sale as well. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. So like this has devolved into the piracy. Like this is like an ongoing conversation. Okay. So speaking of publishing, right? Like we could talk about some publishing shenanigans. We've got a long list of like things that have happened in publishing this year. Starting with like, okay, like one big thing, and maybe this is like less drama, but still something worth talking about, is Penguin Random House buying Simon and Schuster, and the effects that could have on the industry.
So the big five going down to the big four. So has it been finalized? Because I know they're supposed to get approval, but I was like, it's probably going to get approved, right?
Probably. I mean, I don't know if it's gone through yet. Like maybe people in the comments might know this, but I know there had been some question of whether it could be if there could be like antitrust laws going towards it. I don't know what's happening with that, but I do think, you know, like it is an issue, and like a lot of authors I think are really concerned about the effect it's going to have on like opportunities for BIPOC authors and other things, especially with that combined with, we can talk about some of the imprints that have been shutting down this year. There's been several of those.
Like,
I don't know who wants to
every week for like a few months, like this imprint, the imprint closing. And yeah, I don't know the inner workings of publishing that well, but I saw a lot of conversations on Twitter about them consolidating. Some people lose their jobs, so less agents and people to acquire books, less books coming out, and that's why.
So thank you. This is helpful. So it hasn't gone through yet. They're still reviewing whether it would gain a monopoly over the market or not. So I mean, it seems like it kind of would, but I guess we'll see what happens.
I said Mara has a good point on that.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Interesting. Facebook.
That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Like it'll be interesting to see what they do about it. And I think if they do start actually implementing some of this antitrust stuff, I think it's probably going to affect more than just publishing. So that'll be interesting to see what they do. Yeah, I agree. I think it is hard when it's all about like constantly having to grow, and that being, because, you know, especially right now,
and they're public, aren't they? So
yeah,
that also makes it more
yeah. So some of the imprints that we could talk about, because I have this on my like publishing list also. We have James Patterson Presents closes, but of course he's keeping his own line, but the one that's offered a lot of opportunities for authors who might not have otherwise gotten published.
Yeah, I think it's funny because now we're gonna go to the bookstore, instead of it being like James Patterson Presents and Jimmy Patterson's books everywhere, it's just gonna be him.
And half of his books are probably ghostwriters. Like I doubt he actually is writing them all himself. Like we know those. And
I think it's pretty known. They're mostly ghostwriters.
The author is small, and this is James Patterson huge at the top. I'm like, so that person down there probably wrote it, huh?
Yeah. No, you're right, Mara. This is
capitalism, guys.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a problem. I think it's so they closed down, and I know like Natasha Nyen's books were published through James Patterson Presents, which like, you know, like queer women of color, right? And there were other books as well that they were doing, so that was kind of a bummer. They closed down Imprint, which I'm sad about because I really loved a lot of the books they were doing. I think it's a lot of the ones that were, you know, trying more experimental things or things that aren't like obvious blockbuster hits, and so it's kind of a bummer that some of those imprints are shutting down.
Do you think that they would have still shut down without COVID happening?
From what I've heard, yes.
Okay.
Like I think because they're YA imprints, and from what I hear, I think YA in general is kind of experiencing is getting smaller. Like again, I would put you guys, Alexa Dunn has this great, if I can find it later on, I'll put it in the description down below, but she's got a great video talking about all of this and like what trends she's seen in the YA market.
I mean, it makes sense. We just had, there's been a big YA boom over the last 5 years. Huge.
Yeah. This is true, Beth. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered if it was like if it made it faster or not, basically.
Yeah, it probably made it faster. I mean, I think a lot of these were going to go out anyway. Yeah, COVID hastened it, but it was coming. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. She does break it down really good. She's great.
I need to watch
YA, I mean, YA isn't going out of style. It's just becoming more like the rest of publishing. You know, like it's going to be more like, because you don't see as many, like this huge number of titles getting published in adult genre fiction, for instance. It's just going to look more like what you see in other things.
Do you think something else is going to take its place at the forefront? Like that'll be the big thing, or will they all kind of reduce their titles?
I don't know. I don't see anything happening right now, but who knows? We'll see.
I think the only genre you will never see a reduction in titles from is romance because it carries the market. But
yeah, I think this is exactly it. It kind of exhausted the market. So hopefully it'll like become more sustainable over time, but it's just going to shrink for a bit. Hey, romance.
That's what I'm saying.
Can we say like the one positive thing that has come out of 2020?
Yes.
That's right. Romance Lydia came out on our horses and saved Georgia.
Right. Yeah, Romance Landia. I love it. I mean, obviously we weren't the only thing, but I love it. Okay, so with all of this, we also saw Tor laying some people off, and a lot of that was marginalized editorial staff. And so that was kind of a bummer. Like I know one of the few queer editors of color got laid off from Tor this year. And like, I know they had to downsize, but it just kind of sucks.
It does. That was sad.
Yeah.
Because they've definitely been a force of diversity in publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What they've been putting out has been incredible, but I hope that doesn't change because of them, letting go of people.
Yeah, no, I think especially Tor.com has just been putting out so many amazing, like interesting, groundbreaking books that are diverse, and I've been loving it. So I haven't seen it changing, but I think just in terms of staffing stuff, that's been kind of a bummer. So I'd be curious to see if we end up with, like somebody said earlier, more smaller publishers or indie publishers starting to do some of these niche things that the big publishers don't seem to be able to keep up with anymore.
I'm reading it right now, so it made me think of it. Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger is a tiny publisher, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, who published it? And I was like, who's this?
Yeah.
But I've seen that book everywhere. So.
Yeah. I really want to read that one. I mean, look.
I mean, the book industry is corporate America.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And it's linked to Hollywood because a lot of stuff is getting made into Hollywood stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just because it's books.
Wasn't listening. My favorite phrase of 2020.
I'm listening. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Look, romance carries a lot of it financially. Okay. Maybe if one of you wants to talk about this next thing, author non-payment. There were a few instances of this. We had Alan Dean Foster and the Disney Must Pay hashtag. He was one of the biggest authors, but there are others, which we can talk. And then Albert Whitman not paying Joan He, although that finally got resolved. Who wants to give like the rundown on some of that?
I saw with Joan He first, but luckily, like you said, she does have the rights back with that. But yeah, they basically were not going with the contract and weren't paying, I just lost the word, royalties. And we're still selling, her book was still being sold, but she did. I mean, I wonder if she hadn't gone to Twitter, would it be resolved? Because, she went to Twitter, people raised money to GoFundMe for her legal fees because she had to go down that route. But he's had success, but I was looking, I didn't see any update with Alan Dean Foster with his Star Wars novels because Disney, we're talking about monopolies and big corporations acquiring like Lucasfilm. So they've acquired a bunch of books by authors, but they're saying that technically they don't owe him royalties, but
they do. Like you take over those contracts. Well, because Disney bought the Star Wars, I can't think of like the studio. Lucasfilm. Thank you. Yeah, Disney bought Lucasfilm. And so any of the books that were published under that or under Marvel, they then take over those and are supposed to pay royalties to the authors who had published books under them, and they haven't been to a lot of them. So Alan Dean Foster has been one who's been, but that's where the Disney must pay hashtag came from. So there's like legal stuff happening. At least thankfully, because I saw a thing where Mary Robinette Kowal is currently the head of the sci-fi writers, science fiction fantasy writers of America. And so they're getting legal stuff to try to push it that direction. But it's very messy.
Like one of the biggest corporations, they own so many things. And I just think that that's just so shady. And his letter to me was so sad at the end. He's like, I'm just asking for what I'm due, not for extra. Like he's going through like health concerns. And I'm like, geez, just pay people what you owe them. It's awful.
It really shouldn't be that hard. Royalties. Yeah.
Well, and it's not that much money, like what they owe compared to how much they spend on stuff. Like it's not that much for them. Like just pay royalties.
Right.
Yeah, I don't it's pretty wild. That is good to hear. I'm glad your editor survived. But yeah, no, I think they do a lot of really interesting things, traditional and cutting edge. But yeah, the staff, I don't know, some of the specific layoffs I saw, I was kind of bummed about, but yeah, yes, I agree.
Go.
Oh yes, Izzy, why don't you?
Do you want to talk about Dreamspinner?
Dreamspinner.
So, I mean, that kind of leads into the other topics we have, but yeah, Dreamspinner pretty much has given rights back to people, I think, for the most part now. And the RWA is now finally, since we've changed boards, is pursuing Dreamspinner Press legally for like people within the membership to like sue and get their rights back / royalties. And that's been an ongoing mess for like, I think it's been going on for almost 2 years, possibly. Like it's been a while, or it's well over a year. Cause like they were still acquiring people onto their list while not paying other people. But they were paying the president of the RWA formerly, because, you know, then he wouldn't come after them.
Yeah. Which, like, the RWA is its whole own topic, which we can talk about.
Yeah. I am glad that they're pursuing them. I haven't heard anything. I mean, I'm not a member of the RWA, so like I don't get all the full details, obviously. So, but that's what it sounds like. They're actually doing it, which is a good thing. I'm glad. And I know like TJ Klune got his rights back for his books, and is selling them himself now. So that's good. Like his Dreamspinner books. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Just over 2 years. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Also, just a note, this is interesting that writers are often paid a flat fee for stuff like that. And I think that's more what they're moving towards. But I think some of the older books, because Alan Dean Foster wrote forever ago and he did have contracts with royalties. So it's interesting.
Oh.
Interesting. Yeah.
Is that only for ones that are from a fandom like that?
Oh, wow. Kind of. I mean, and having the money to get a lawyer yourself, honestly.
A lot.
That's why having an organization like the Sci-Fi Fantasy Writers of America behind you is part of the only way, because the legal fees are just wild. Yeah,
and like RWA now that they're pursuing them to help. They did and the thing is they did this when I didn't read from them, but there was a publisher called Alora's Cave a few years ago that went and like just stopped paying people, and the RWA pursued them, and like they had done it before. So the fact that they didn't do it with Dreamspinner sooner is weird.
Yeah,
but
well, because
not weird when you're job,
right?
But
right. Well, yeah, and so I mean that's part of the problem, right? The corruption, and this is just one example of it, because the president of it was like part of like owned Dreamspinner or something. Like did he own it? Was that like?
He doesn't own it, but he was, his main publisher was Dreamspinner. This was Damon Suede. So yeah, right. Dreamspinner published his books, and I think we're still paying him, but they were not paying other people specifically that were members of the RWA.
Which seems kind of like bribery or low key, right? Like, well, if we pay you, don't go after us legally to make us pay other people like you're supposed to do as the RWA.
What do you care if you're, I mean, it is. It's basically like, well, why do you care? You're getting paid. So what if they're not getting paid?
Such a mess. Yes, it is wild. Yes, this is true. Even Taylor Swift can lose rights. Yeah, it's interesting the way that like rights stuff works in different creative industries. And I think like having protections for creative people is so important.
Mm-hmm. I think we're getting better at knowing to like really look into those things too, like as you get contracts. Because I feel like the more we see these issues, the more it's like, I need to be sure that I understand every little bit of this.
Yeah. Well, that is like a great lead in to the RWA shit show that was the entire year from like December 2019 through most of this year. Izzy, you have some great recaps of this on your channel, but if you want to give like a brief overview of some of those, then we can.
So last December, I think it was like December 23rd or 24th, the RWA sent a delightful email to Courtney Milan telling her she could no longer be a member and that she harassed people. And I go into like the full history of it, like a quick recap in a video I did recently called the Romancelandia like primer. Start here if you're new. It's a lot. Like, I mean, it's a 17-minute video of me like recapping it all because it was a lot. But basically, they sent this to a lawyer and to a former like Supreme Justice clerk. Like she was a clerk for one of the justices, and it was pretty much out of bounds completely. And then it comes out that they had formed a secret group to evaluate these claims against her in which they called a woman of color a Nazi.
What?
Yep. And I laugh because it blows my mind. Like, can you imagine writing an email to complain about somebody in the organization you're in saying that they're a Nazi and they're a woman of color? Like, how ballsy? How ballsy are you? And this was because Courtney called out a piece of work that was published in the 90s and then got republished and did not fix the blue-eyed Asian character. I think they were Chinese, but I'm not positive. Yeah. It all started because she called that out. And then she called out Sue Grimshaw for being a racist and having really bad buying practices when she worked at Walden Books around her racism. Basically, she would not acquire books for the store that were by people of color.
And this was all on her private Twitter.
Yes. This was not like her, like Courtney as a member of the RWA speaking, or I think I don't remember what role she had right now off the top of my head, but she was like on the board in some capacity.
She was the head of one of the committees, like for diversity stuff, I think or something like that.
Yeah. So they're attacking her, and then they they're just like, you're done. You're not allowed to be a member. You're not allowed to do anything. Like, you're no longer associated with us. And they were just kind of like, I mean, it was nasty, the email. It was wild. Alyssa Cole actually dropped the email because she's friends with Courtney, because Courtney didn't want to share it, but she said Alyssa could. So it was basically I feel like I spent 2 weeks of my life with my head in the sand updating things on this because we were covering it on a group I'm part of, Romance Sparks Joy. Yeah, the ethics chair. Mara's got it.
So good.
My brain cannot hold everything that happened in the last year around the
and the thing is didn't they send out yes, thank you. It's finally popped up here. But it's ironic too, right, that she was the chair of the ethics committee.
Well, and they literally made a secret ethics committee to evaluate the claims against her, which they had never done before. They would get emails about members and they would just ignore them. Like, they didn't really do anything about it, which is like, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but like, this complaint was obviously like a personal issue and not a like, I don't know, not them doing something like it wasn't like science fiction B2, right? Like, it wasn't like when that happened in the science fiction and fantasy community. This was like,
which we will talk about later.
I mean, that's the best comparison I have, right? This was literally just like, she was mean to me. How dare she? I'm going to yell about her it was very shady. And then Damon Suede, the president at the time, literally made a secret committee to evaluate this claim. And no one knows who was on that committee still to this day. It was like, It was wild because it was like within like a couple days, the whole board stepped down besides Damon. Like he hung on and he like then brought in his people to be on the board. And then he got booted out, much to his dismay.
Well,
and then he like
they
vanished.
it all. Like, didn't they also drop all this stuff right before Christmas, hoping people just would ignore it?
It was the 23rd. Yeah, no, I literally like when I tell you if I think I don't even remember those 2 weeks, guys. Like I was like every day we were following everything and like updating things, and I don't remember those 2 weeks. And then like we sent all of our files to the pop culture library in Bowling Green.
Wow.
Afterwards, because they wanted them.
Yeah, Mara, this is exactly it. They sat on a ton of racist and homophobic ethics complaints, then kicked out Courtney for privately critiquing racist tropes. That's exactly it. Yep. And so I think what this started, because this all began in 2019, but it started months of people coming out of the woodwork and finally talking about all of the racist and homophobic and like harmful things that had happened behind the scenes.
Yes.
All the time in the RWA, and then led to the change from the RITAs, like, because that was another piece of this, right? Was
then like, that came out.
Yeah, that last year was the first time Black women had ever won a RITA.
I think all like people of color in general.
People of color in general had never won a RITA until 2019. Yeah. And the RWA was started by a Black woman, romance author.
But we erased Vivian Stevens because she doesn't exist.
Oh my God.
I literally, like, y'all, people were convinced this woman was dead because the way they talk about her. And then they did a whole, what do you call? Like, they did an article in Texas about her because she's still alive in Houston. And they interviewed her.
Oh.
And people were like, I saw people who didn't know she was still alive. To be honest, I had never checked either way. But yeah, like people were surprised she was alive.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And the Attorney General in Texas like had to investigate the RWA as well. Because like all the people that worked for the main building, like the office, there was like this ingrained racism because these people just got to stay all the time. It was such
a lot of people dropped out, withdrew their entries for the RITAs, which is why they finally scrapped them and started the Vivian. So I'm curious to see how they're going to go.
I'm nervously slightly optimistic, but I still don't know that it's going to go well because the problem is the rubric. Like the reason I didn't sign up because of the rubric. I had issues with it. There are some pieces on that rubric that people will use to be racist at the end of the day. Specifically, like there's a grammar portion of it. I feel like I could see that if, even a Kennedy Ryan book may have some more grammar in it that somebody might be like, well, this isn't proper, so I'm going to rate it.
I haven't thought about that. So I did sign up to be a judge for it. So we'll see how it goes. And you did have to like do some low key sort of like bias training. It wasn't a lot, but
last year's bias training happens before they canceled it. Literally, you could just turn it on and walk away. There was no like way to know that you actually did it. But
this year there's a quiz.
Okay, that's a little helpful.
And you had to get them all right, and if you didn't, you had to like go back and rewatch it and like fix your answers. So
better than having to sit there and literally put it on and walk away. But yeah, I just it was really interesting because then last year when the RITA's like points came out, you could see like the people who were racist were giving these books by people of color, 2 stars or whatever on their rubric, and you're like,
oh man, it's
what the hell?
Yeah, it's really bad. So I hope that they're going to have some oversight and have some way of looking at how well it went. Like, because that's what I'm not sure of is like, I don't know if they have a plan for how they're actually going to like make sure.
I think
I did too, Jen.
It happens.
I did try to go back.
Wow. You guys are just outing yourselves here as problematic people.
Oh man, that's funny. No, so we'll see. I'm curious to see how it goes. Like, I'm excited to judge. I mean, I think the other thing too is I feel like hopefully having some of us as judges will maybe help out, but it shouldn't require having non-racist judges to like do a good job. So we'll see. I don't know. Oh my gosh, I did not know this. Did you know
I
this?
think so.
What? Oh my god.
It's been so much. Like I said, my brain at this point is like half. I feel like it's half full of weird RWA facts, and then half of the things left my brain because I was like, I can only hold on to so much.
There was a lot. It was
I remember the graphic. Wasn't it like a person helping up like a white lady helping a black lady up or something? It was something really weird.
Oh, it's so messy. I mean, I hope they can get it together because like it's useful to have an organization like this for legal issues that come up, but yeah, like it needs to be good for everybody. It's just wow.
Yeah, I think that's most of the RWA stuff, guys. I'm sure I'm missing things because I can't be the end all be all. But that's exactly why I started doing Romance Landia Monthly.
Look, we gotta say
nobody else is talking about it.
Yeah,
and I said, well,
it's always popular in Landia.
Oh man, so we'll see. We'll see how things go this year. It'll be interesting.
It's gonna be very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else on the RWA before we move to
we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. I'm hopeful we have good people judging. Obviously we know some people judging. Maybe we can show them with their pearls. Just gently.
No. Oh,
gently.
No. Teach them gently. It's like going in the dark romance category. Oh man, yeah, no, I'm glad that I think a lot of people don't know about it, which is part of why I think talking about it's important. And Izzy, I love that you've really talked a lot about this stuff. Okay, so we could go a couple of directions with this next. Jess, maybe you could pick what you want to talk about next. So we have the Me Too stuff, we have companies behaving badly, we have like issues with author identity. What would you like to talk about?
Oh gosh, there's so much. I was reading something before this, so into the authors and their identity, because before we got on the site, we were talking about that because there's been this year or last year, wow, it's 2021, where Becky Albertalli felt like she had to come out. There were so many things, and I'm gonna start in January, I think. My Dark Vanessa, January or March, earlier in the year, My Dark Vanessa came out, and it was a debut, I think, and it's about basically an underage, like a high school student who has a relationship with her teacher. And so someone, when I was reading the article just now, because I remember there being like controversy about it, and the article said that people were accusing her of like plagiarizing someone else's story who had a similar book like that. And so then she felt like she had to tell what actually happened to her, and that the book was based on experiences and trauma that she experienced as a teenager. And so that's kind of been a recurring thing in 2020 of people accusing authors of like, you shouldn't write this if you're not this, or you shouldn't write this queer story if you're not queer. So Becky Albertalli, who wrote Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, and Leah on the Offbeat came out when she really wasn't ready to. And I think, was that right after the Entangled TikTok, or was that before? I can't remember. It was
right after, or right. Okay. It was like, it was all together.
It all happened around the same time. Like, oh man, it was so messy.
The Entangled teen, like the owner of the public, whatever they are, their daughter was running the TikTok and was saying,
she hired her daughter with no experience to run their professional TikTok.
Nepotism, guys, gotta love it.
Yeah,
gotta love it.
Oh man.
Yeah, she's saying like, you don't, or basically straight authors shouldn't be writing queer stories. She don't be queer people writing.
It was Entangled. It was Entangled Teen, we should say. It was the Entangled Teen TikTok. But yeah, it was very, very messy. Well, and I think in general, like there were several cases of this happening this year of people policing what stories people should be telling and making them feel forced to talk about their identity or their trauma publicly when they didn't want to. So I think that was the thing, is people were coming at Becky Albertalli for writing queer stories when she was a straight white woman.
Seemingly straight, right?
Seemingly straight, but then she's not. So like, don't make assumptions about people's sexuality, about like their trauma or their past. Like that gets very messy.
I think it's so hard too, because like obviously you want to lift up stories written by queer people about queer people, or Black people about Black people, you know, everybody, right? Like you want to be, and obviously I only want to read alien romances written by aliens. I mean, that's the true answer here.
Only on Voices alien romances.
I think it's so hard, but that's where at the end of the day you have to go find the Own Voices reviewer, the person who has that identity, reviewing the book, saying this was good, or this. You know, not saying it was harmful, basically, right? Like, I would love an alien to let me know. Now that's all I can think about. But like, I think that's the hardest part of that, in a way, is how do you? I don't know. I don't like the policing of identity situations.
Yeah, with that and it was in 2019, but the same thing I think happened with like Ninth House and Leigh Bardugo and people. And it seems to always, well, not always, more often than not, happen to women when they write, you know, something that's more traumatic in a story, and they're like, "Why are you writing that?" And it's like then they feel like they have to come out and say, "Okay, well, I've experienced this, and this is my way of."
Do we do this to male authors? Really? Do we?
I don't think we do that to Stephen King, because he writes a lot of messed up things in his book.
No, I'm just like, I'm wondering that. Like, I don't think I've ever seen us attack a male author. Go, well, you're not this. Why? You've never been raped. You can't write about women being raped.
Yeah. It's like
I've never seen that
at work, people.
Yeah, I don't.
Yes, to sensitivity readers. Yes, well, and I think another example of this that's kind of in the same vein is, there was a big thing that happened with Tamsin Muir, the author of Gideon the Ninth, where people were dragging her because somebody figured out that she had written some fan fiction. I mean, number one, it was fan fiction like years ago that included like basically like a sexual relationship between a minor and an adult that was like not consensual. Okay. But it was like, it was fan fiction that was had properly tagged with all of the content warnings and whatever. And people were like, this is so messed up. I'm never reading anything from her again. Well, so then she feels like she has to come out in an interview and talk publicly about something she didn't want to talk publicly about, which is her own trauma, and how that was a way of her processing the trauma that she had experienced. And like, authors should never have to do that. They should never feel like they have to talk about their identity or their trauma because people are like, well, why are you writing this thing? Yeah. Like, we just need to have grace for people. It's so, it's not okay.
It's just, you never know the whole story as far as somebody's life. And you shouldn't have to know. You shouldn't have to. People have to be like, I experienced this, thus this is an okay thing for me to write.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think there are people who feel like we shouldn't, that, you know, nobody should ever write this kind of stuff. But the reality is like, it happens, right? Like, like sexual assaults and assault of minors and all this stuff like happens in real life, and people experience it. And like, sometimes that can be a way of processing things. And like, I really don't like, you don't have to read it. If you don't like it, if it bothers you, if you don't like it, don't read it. There are things I don't read, but like censoring what people are writing, that becomes a problem.
Yeah. And it all depends on how it's written. If it's framed in a way that's like praising something that's really problematic or, you know, disgusting, whatever. But ones like My Dark Vanessa, it's like, it's very much someone processing it in the story. And it's not like framing it in this positive light, like glorifying these kind of relationships.
Mm-hmm. Well, but then we have things like Lolita, which is considered a classic. And that's like, I mean, that's just, so there's definitely a double standard. Like, yeah, your personal comfort zone is mine. That's exactly it. Like, there are things I'm not comfortable reading, but like, look, yeah, yep. Yeah, this is exactly right. And this has been something we've seen multiple times this year. It's a problem.
Gabby Dunn, is that her name, on Twitter? She went on a whole tweet thing about this with Becky Albertalli too, and it's like,
and then it's like accusing her of lying. Wasn't she like accusing her of lying basically just to make it look better?
Yeah, I'm like, nah, Yeah,
And it's such a and Becky came out as bi, which is like such a hard place to be, especially if you've been married for a while and you're just trying to you're figuring it out. Like there's so much shame locked up in the idea of like not just being straight. I feel like sometimes, especially like if you don't discover it till you're older. Because you've got like that whole like patriarchy in your brain that like you can only do this one thing, and it's just a mess. It makes me so.
And there's the people who are like, well, you're married to a man, so you can't be
exactly, and that's the whole thing. There's a whole other thing when you're bisexual, like where you're married to a guy, so no, you're not. You're
so it doesn't count. Like that's not like that. That's not what determines your sexuality.
And that's why a lot of people also do like go by queer instead now and things like that, just to avoid that like stigma.
No, it's true. It's really true. Yeah. Look, yes. Anyway, I find it to be very frustrating. It's really wild. Yep, yeah, that's true. So we can feel better about the content. Like, oh, well, it's fine then. I feel okay about reading this because I know that you experience trauma. Look. No, that's so, like, that's, yeah, I mean, like, I think, like, what we expect out of authors sometimes is just really not okay. Yes, bi erasure is absolutely, it's a problem.
A terrible issue.
Yep, agreed. You're not entitled to other people's trauma. Thank you. Yeah, there you go. Which, look, is also just as true in what people are expecting authors of color to write, and that it doesn't always have to be about trauma either, which is a conversation that's happened this year.
Or to teach you something, if it's like fiction, like I didn't learn anything in this. Well, it's a fantasy story. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and that there is space for
like, romance. I don't learn a lot.
I like that there's been conversation this year about the importance, though, of joy joy in stories from BIPOC authors, right? That like not all of the stories have to be about trauma, and like to expect that is a problem. Yeah. Okay, where to go? there's just so much. This is why we decided to do the live stream, guys, is we were originally just going to do a podcast episode, and then we started talking about it, and we was like, we can't cover this all in a 1 hour podcast episode. Let's also do a live stream.
So, we probably still won't cover it all because it's too much.
Yeah. Yes. Read Black absolutely. Read Black romance. Like it's yeah. No, if you're not an elf.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You cannot write fantasy about elves.
Forget it. Yeah. Look, actually, this is great because like I am actually reading this right now. Stacey Reed is a Black romance author. She doesn't have to write about Black characters, right? Like it's historical romance. Yep, good point.
Yep.
Good point. Yes.
My dirty brain, Mara.
Yeah.
Yep. I've seen it. I've seen with the Poppy War, someone said that it didn't feel Asian enough. And I was like, Like, what do you mean? It was a white reviewer, and I was like, what? It didn't really feel like it was Asian inspired. I'm like,
and it's literally based on some war, right? Like, how have you read the book?
It's based on Chinese history.
It's based on a literal war that happened in China.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what else you want. Like, but I've seen, what that comment in different ones, like, oh, this didn't really feel, whatever ethnicity.
Like what feels Asian to you?
Yeah, I want to know. Probably something very stereotypical.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so wild. Yes. I have seen this. Oh my goodness.
It drives me bonkers.
This is so messed up. I mean, look.
Historical?
Yeah, I can't with people.
Like, people have found love throughout history. Yeah. It's literally Chinese history with fantasy. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, look. Disney. Oh, well. Yeah. That was like a whole thing. Someone calls George Martin stories don't feel European enough. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Right.
I mean, all of my reviews on anything I read by him just say these don't feel European. Bring on the annoyed fanboy.
Oh man. Oh, cool. Awesome. Go check this out, guys. Remembrance by Rita Woods, a Black MD in Chicago who wrote a time travel historical fantasy. That sounds great. Very cool. So yeah, go check that out. Right? I mean, yeah. Oh, which also, if you haven't seen it, Daniel Jose Older has a fantastic TikTok about why you should not italicize words in non-English languages.
There's also the YouTube version of it, so
good. It's so good.
Yeah, should watch it. It's very good.
So good. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and even if it wasn't, I mean, this is true, Danielle, because there's so much like fantasy that goes into romance in general, but also there were totally people of color who had happy endings in history. Like that is also a thing. I'm just noticing the puppy. Yes.
Oh.
I mean, if you're not going to critique how a duke got all his money, and you're gonna not, but you'll read those and you won't read Black historicals or whatever, I have questions. Meet me around the corner in the alley. Let me kick you for a second.
Oh, 100%. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Oh boy. Okay. So another big thing that happened that this summer, a lot happened this summer. Like it was just like, man, we had a couple of months there that were just things. Yeah, the entire world just was like on fire. So we had Publishing Paid Me, and right around the same time, we started having Me Too stuff coming out in the adult science fiction and fantasy community. So maybe that's something we could talk about next. This was wild. People started talking on Twitter and sharing things that had been happening for years. A lot of it was surrounding conventions, like writer conventions and like Comic-Con conventions.
Least surprising thing that it was around conventions.
Look,
every time bad behavior comes out, it's around conventions, I swear.
Well, because people go like drink alcohol and then like think that their bad behavior is okay. And this is a lot of what it was. Is there were other things that happened that came out too, which we can talk about, but a lot of it was surrounding conventions and male authors doing some things, being creeps. I don't know where or who we want to start with. Anybody have something they want to jump in with there?
I think the first thing I saw, and I was so confused, it was Scott Lynch and is it Elizabeth Bear that he's married to?
His wife, yes.
Yeah, someone, and I can't remember her name. She put out like a statement, a letter about
that was
being groomed. But like, did she live with them at one point? It was very, like she said she was groomed by them as a couple. And
oh man, that was like a long.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah, there was back and forth there. So yeah, you're right. I'm forgetting her name too, but it was like Scott Lynch and Elizabeth Bear who were married, and she was like a new writer and kind of looking at them as mentors. And then he wanted to have a sexual relationship with her and said that his wife was fine with it because they had an open marriage. And then this is what she has said anyway. And then like and then the wife got jealous and started like doing weird things, and like it was this whole long saga that was really wild.
It was weird.
It was weird. It was weird.
I was watching this from like afar, like, oh, someone besides Romancelandia is getting into trouble.
Yeah. I read it, and then did he ever, or did they ever come out and like say anything, like Elizabeth or Scott? Did they make a statement? I don't remember.
They did make statements. I mean, I think they basically were saying that like, you know, you're hearing her side of the story and that wasn't really all that happened. She was also doing stuff that was, it basically sounded messy where everybody made bad choices. Like that was what I took away from it. Like everybody made very bad choices.
It's more like text messages, like screenshots of, I don't know. I was just like, it's always so like, you don't ever want to tell someone like you're lying or, you know, not believe a potential victim.
Yeah. I mean, that was like probably the most out there and messy thing, but a lot of the other stuff was more like what we said earlier, which is things happening around conventions where often like maybe authors would get together and like be drinking or something afterwards. And then there was like sexual harassment going on, like verbal sexual harassment or like there was like a lot of stuff. So there were a bunch of authors who got called out for this. So some of the other ones I had were like Paul Kruger, who actually I think got dropped by his agent because of it. Mike Cole.
Yeah.
Sam Sykes, who interestingly enough is Diana Gabaldon's son.
That was the biggest reveal of my life, y'all. I was like, what?
With him, I was reading something because originally he like with the thing with Mike Cole or with one of them and Sam Sykes like came out and was like, yeah, he did that. And then he himself got called out.
Yeah.
I was like, well,
Yes,
like,
so yeah. Well, and then I think that there was also a statement from, so he wasn't accused of doing this, but like somebody who was in their like in a friend group of other people who had done it was Chuck Wendig. And so he put out a statement like basically apologizing for not stepping in and like distancing himself from some of his friends because he'd been like hanging out with them while they were doing stuff. And like, yeah, I should have noticed and said something. Like, yeah, you think?
It's like, I'm gonna save myself right now though. Yeah, it seemed for a while every week it was a new one. It was like, I remember looking up Mike. I haven't read anything by Mike Cole. I'm looking at his like author photo and I was like, I see it. I told my friend that and I'm like, I don't know. DG is a jerk.
He is a jerk about romance. And I know Jen loves her and loves the books. But like it just, when that happened and like knowing she's a jerk about romance, I was just like, oh, it runs in the family. We're all not nice, are we?
It's true. I mean, I think like basic lesson from all of this, right, is like when you're going to a professional convention, it is not the time to pick up women. Don't say things that are sexual. Don't try to pick people up. Even if you think there's like some interest there, like it is not the time or the place. And be aware of power dynamics, right? Like if you are an established author, like it is you and you're talking to a new author, even if you think there's like a mutual attraction, like be aware of the power dynamics in that situation, right? Like, was it consensual? Kind of, maybe. I mean, it's sort of like was Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky consensual? Got some power imbalances there. Like it's the same kind of thing on like a smaller scale. Like, you know. Yeah.
And you know the Whisper network of women was strong at these conventions. I'm sure
absolutely.
Knowing who to avoid.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think part of it too is like respecting. I have so much respect for the women who were willing to come out and like openly talk about it, but there were also a lot of people who didn't want to like go public with who they were, who also we know had these experiences. So this wasn't like one or two people. This was like a repeated behavioral thing over years. So yeah. Yes, thank you. If you are there for business, it's an extension of the office. Like behave professionally. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly it. And just be aware of like those power imbalances. Like, yeah, you might want to read that in like a romance novel, but in real life, it's not sexy.
Exactly.
Okay. So I think the last big collection of things that I have here is companies behaving badly. So I don't know. I think, Jess, I'm going to let you take whichever of these you would like to talk about. We have
Book Outlet.
Non-apologies versus real apologies. We have Book Outlet. We have Book of the Month. We have Audible. We have, wherever you want to go with that.
There's so much there. Well, I know with non-apologies, which are my favorite things, but I think that's just been the theme of, there's been with 2020 everything that happened, especially once like June and the Black Lives Matter protests, and so many people were just getting called out for shady things and then responding with, I'm sorry you feel this way, but non-apologies. And we saw it with the Reading Rush and Ariel Bissett, which we talked about in the podcast. And then again with Sasha Alsberg, these very generic, like, I don't want to touch on anything I really did.
Yeah.
But,
And
So
for those who weren't, I was going to say, for those who weren't here at the beginning, Jessica Cluess, so authors and YouTubers behaving badly, we talk about this in the podcast episode, Chapter 3 podcast, which is linked down below. The episode is coming out in 2 weeks, and we get into all that there. So just, okay, sorry, continue.
Oh, no, but the Jessica Cluess thing was hilarious. There was a teacher who took her apology and like edited it to make it an actual apology. Like, I'm sorry, and then like adding in, because no one ever says, I'm sorry for the thing I did. And it's always like, well, this was taken this way. I'm sorry you felt that way. And I'm listening, I'm learning, and going forward. But there's never I'm sorry for this. Here's what I'm going to go do for it. Just very vague from people and companies alike. And I'm over it in 2021. Like, people need to learn to apologize. And sometimes there's probably some kind of legal thing, a bigger corporation, but from a person, especially like a creator or something, we deserve a real apology. And like, what are you going to do to be better? Like Jessica Cluess is like, but what are you going to do? It's like, I'm listening and I'm learning and I'm going to be better. Are you though?
It's literally like the influencer apology statement response. Like, it's copy paste. I'm listening. I'm learning. I'll be back soon once I've listened and learned enough. Give me 2 days or a week, and then I will return and continue my behavior. Don't expect anything from me. Where are these people's friends? Can I just say that? Where are these people's friends that call them in and say, "What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?"
This is a great video. Neeks has a great video about apologizing with the Satan acronym. Yes, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we can talk about like, what does a good apology look like?
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen one. But it would, do you have an example? Because I feel like everyone who messed up big.
I do have one that I think like, yeah, everybody's talking about this stuff. So look, all of this stuff, Sasha, all of this we cover in the podcast. Yeah. Like, so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Beth, exactly.
Yes. Giving people
that is exactly it. And this is the podcast, Chapter 3 podcast. Yeah. Okay, so, oh my God. Okay, so I would say a good apology, right? Like, you need to actually like be specific. Say, I'm sorry for what you did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Here is my plan for how I'm going to do better in the future. And then you do better in the future. And yeah, like, this is exactly like, start with actually saying you're sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Specifically to who you hurt or like I
Not
feel like that's
big.
it too. Yeah. Like, admit what you were wrong about. And then I think, it's what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But that's never included.
Yeah.
I'm going to do better. And I'm like,
yeah, it needs to be specific. So I would actually say, and I would actually say the Book of the Month Club gave a pretty good apology. Because they definitely kind of messed up. They did a few different things. I think one of the like kind of deal breakers was whoever was running their Instagram, and I hope they got fired because like it was probably some person, but I'm sure they did. But whoever was running their Instagram, when there was some like pushback on some things when all the Black Lives Matter stuff went down, they like deleted those comments from like Black women, which was not okay, like criticizing their choices of what they'd included. I think they had one of the best corporate apologies that I've seen, where they basically said, we're sorry, here's what we did wrong, and here's our specific plans to move forward in terms of like the percentages of authors of color that they were going to be including in future things. Like, it was like a variety of things, but they had an action plan, and then they've done it. Like, they've actually followed through with it. And that is like one of the only examples I've seen of a company that I think actually did a pretty good job. But which is why I still subscribe to them.
Yeah. I'm subscribed because I have too many books, but otherwise I feel like they are actually the only company this year we've seen do a decent apology.
100%. Yeah, I don't think I've seen anyone else.
Or I'm like, sorry, I'm sorry I offended you is also not okay. You need to be like, I'm sorry I did X. Like, you got to be specific. Like, they're, you know, it's not that big a deal. Like, it's not that hard to be specific. And like, just people, if you do it right, everyone's gonna be like, okay, cool, you're actually trying. Whereas when you're like, I'm listening and learning.
Yeah.
we're all like, no, the fuck you're not. Go home.
Yeah, absolutely. Jen, so I would say do giveaways or donate them. That's what I do. Like I either donate them
to some other options. You could do like shelter donations, like a women's shelter if they're YA and stuff.
Yeah. Or like
whatever.
or like sometimes I'll do like we have like a local bookstore. I think they're closed right now, but that it's all like for charity, like the proceeds all go to charity. So like sometimes I'll donate ARCs there, or I'll do giveaways. Like those are all like good things. Yes, they did make changes. They did. Their apology was on their Instagram page, which I think is still up if you look.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is good. I apologize. Yeah. You're welcome. If you ever like screw up publicly, here's what you should do. These are also like good options. Yeah, I mean, I think that they did a bunch of things that rubbed people the wrong way. I think it is tricky too when like that could be a whole conversation. But yes, Merkel, this is good.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Isabel. You do pass on some of your arcs to me. Yes. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have? We had Audible. People were asking what happened with Audible. Who wants to talk about that?
So Audible, with their audiobooks, you could buy an audiobook and you had up to a year from buying it, and you could listen to it and return it within a year. And so maybe that doesn't affect big authors, like Brandon Sanderson or someone, Lee Bardugo, but smaller authors who have books on Audible, especially if like Audible exclusives, were starting to get, if it was returned, Audible would take that money back from them. And so some authors, if people were returning books, would owe Amazon or Audible money because they were taking that money back from them. So because some people use Audible like a library. Sometimes they listen to a book, they return it, and I mean, you had a year. And I guess they say that if you do this often, that they'll put like a hold in your account, but it must be, I don't know, a lot. But recently they did change it to where within, I think, only 7 days, after 7 days, if you returned it, that they would, still pay both the voice actor and the author. So that's good, at least, because I can't imagine having to pay back because someone listened to your book and then returned it. I'd be pissed.
Yeah. Also, around the Audible romance package, it came out that they weren't paying people in a timely fashion or being very transparent in their contracts when they first launched that package. So I don't know
why. So I don't know all the details, but I think a bunch of authors pulled out of it, which is why it went away and they don't have it anymore.
So I think they got rid of it because they wanted to expand it to Plus, but I don't think it was because authors pulled out. Because when you signed that contract, you were locked in until they canceled the service. You couldn't pull your book.
Wow.
It was a really wild contract. And basically no one was getting any money because there was no transparency about the pay. It was like it's like Kindle Unlimited. There's a pie. And the pie gets chopped up, but you don't know how much of that pie you're going to get or what it takes.
Wow. Yeah, Libra FM is a really good option.
I love Libra
both of them because I listen to so many audiobooks. I do both, but yeah. I do try not to return audiobooks so much anymore, though, actually. Like, unless I know it was really bad.
But some people finish a whole book and they're like, okay, well, I finished that and return it. And it's not a library.
And it's really weird to me.
Yeah.
Like the returning of their books, like they just cycle through.
Yeah. It's not gonna work like that.
Oh, did they? That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's part of what ended up leading to removing the romance package in general, which we were all really bummed about, but also I think it's probably better for authors, I guess.
It is. I mean, I know it just sucks.
Is Chirp? That's a good question. I don't know anything about Chirp. So
I've yet to use it because I heard it doesn't go up to 3 times speed, so I won't use it.
Oh, forget
it. Doesn't go fast enough.
Not if I'm paying for it. If I'm paying for it, it better go fast. If it's library, then fine, whatever. But no, we're not doing that. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, they don't tell people how often they return. Yeah, Libra FM is really great, and their proceeds go to indie bookstores, which is great. They're a really good option. Yeah. I also returned Midnight Sun because Stephanie Meyer doesn't need more money.
I mean, I told everyone with Midnight Sun. Did I not on the lives? I said, so I'm going to get it on Audible and then I'm going to return it after we're done.
Yeah,
and that is exactly what I did.
You'll be okay.
But I would never do that if it was an indie author or that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Judge my ethics, Mara. That's fine.
Very good.
Fine.
Yeah.
All right. I don't feel bad about that one.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. So things are getting better for that, but yeah, that was a mess this year. Yeah. Yes. This is why I've started books that I want to reread. I've started buying copies of them because I just,
I mean, I use Script, but that's like, I can only do one service that does only 2 times speed. That's it. That's my
yeah. I do that in my library. Like those are the ones that do like 2 times speed. Okay. So I think the other main thing that I have on here is a book outlet, which I was kind of involved in. I gotta say, like one of the most stressful things is having a tweet go like semi-viral. It's not pleasant. I was like, oh man, it's so much. Like, because I was the big thing that happened with Book Outlet was it was like a whole thing. But they basically, it turned out, like, did not have good practices in how they were choosing their vlogger friends that they would work with or influencers, and really lacked diversity. And there wasn't a lot of transparency around that, and like some messy things that they did. And it was like a whole thing. And I was their smallest, like I had done like some sponsored content with them because I liked them as like a place. I have not bought books from them since, but as like a company where you could get cheap books, I was like, this is great for deals. And they had invited me, even though I was a really small channel, to join, and I didn't know all this stuff, so I ended up like leaving. Everybody left. They shut down that whole program, and a lot of people spoke out about it, but it was super messy, and they did not have a good apology. Some of the stuff that they said was just terrible. And then I had like tweets that went semi-viral from that, and I was like, I can't deal with this. It's too much mentions. I don't like
it up. Yeah, because we had there was only like one Black influencer part of that, and I forgot because I think someone said mentioned how they had applied and never heard back, and then that one person, I can't remember what her name is. Naya Reads and Smiles, maybe.
Naya Reads and Smiles, the other one.
Yeah, and then they were saying, someone was asking why haven't we heard back, or why don't you have more diversity? And they said, we choose creators who are family friendly, like don't curse and things. And I think Books and Lala,
she was one
and she
a lot of my videos.
Heard my butter.
I love that.
Not too long.
Yeah,
it was really bad. Yeah, it was bad. And the fact too that there were people like Francina Simone, for instance, who had a much larger platform than I did, especially at the time, who asked, and they kind of gave her the runaround. And they asked me, and I was like, when they asked me, I had like maybe 3,000 subscribers. It was just not. It was messy. So yeah, that was.
I haven't seen anybody talk about them since. I mean, we don't know if people are. I haven't bought them. I'm sad, but
people are probably still buying from them and just not talking about it. Yeah. I have not. Although I can't figure out how to unsubscribe from their emails. I keep trying to, and I'm like, they still send me emails, and I'm like, I don't.
Mark it as spam.
No, that's really true. Naya is a sweetheart. She was lovely, and like they were using her as kind of their token non-white. Everybody else was white. I was pretty much
responded to it all happened. I thought she did a really good job. Yeah, that's just so that has to be such a. I don't know.
It's like a lot of pressure in a weird place.
Yeah, like it's. I just can't imagine that place, right? Being like, oh my god, I'm the token one, and
are one piece of diversity.
For diversity, like, oh no,
it was bad. This is exactly it. That was exactly what
not
it
a person
sounded
of
like.
color. 100%. They meant by family friendly.
Families too.
It is good. Yeah. It was exactly right. I mean, like, and there are plenty of like creators of color who don't curse.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're family friendly, unless what you mean is they're not white. I mean, I just, they had bad customer service.
I feel like being a romance reader, I didn't really buy from them that often because they didn't have a good selection, really, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it all came out and I was like, cool. Like one. And I was like, cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's been good for me because like I ended up getting a lot of stuff just because it was cheap and looked mildly interesting. So it's helped me anyway be more selective about the books that I'm buying. So.
Half of those would end up on hauls for me. So I'd be like, I got add on,
like,
you get free
$1.20. And like, you know.
I was like, I need another book for free shipping, and it was this. And I remember trying to read one and it was so bad. Like, so it's been good.
It's for the best. It's for the best. But that was a whole mess. 2020 was quite a year. Oh yeah. There's
it stinks. I need like a place online because thrift books is not thrifty anymore. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. So
no,
there's
it's tricky.
Better world books.
Sometimes, and like sometimes eBay you can find deals. It just varies on depending on what you're looking for. No, this is exactly true. It is unfortunate. I mean, I will say, like, I would never like say something negative about somebody who's using it because of like the cost of books. You know, like I think do what you need to do because I get that. Like it's
I mean, I'm not judging them. I'm judging the people who we know could be using it still and maybe don't need to be using it. Would be what I would probably judge. If I knew that you could afford other places, I would be like, why? What are you doing?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Thrift books has some good selections. Okay, cool. Yeah. And I think a lot of people too just like don't, I'm sure there's also a lot of people who just don't know. Cause like if you weren't following all of this when it happened, like, you know, it's not like they really apologized.
Yeah. That's true.
For sure.
A tiny little sliver of their website vanished. That's all, you know. And you probably would.
Well, okay. So you know what the big messy thing was that I posted is they also, when they finally emailed me back after I had emailed them, to like cancel my involvement, they sent me the email for Naya. Like they put her name on my email. So clearly it was a form letter. Like they didn't even like, and there were like 6 of us. Like there weren't that many people. It was very bad.
What a mess.
It was not good. Yeah.
Yikes.
So.
What a year.
Yeah. Seriously, what a year. That's all I have on my list here. Is there other actually, well, I think this was something that you maybe added, Jess. I don't know if it was you, but I have something about Gabby Dunn, which I don't know what happened with that. One of you guys, I think, brought it up. So
Gabby Dunn, that was earlier in relation to like, because she did this Twitter thread about when Becky Albertalli came out. It was kind of in that same vein of queer people need to write queer stories, or you need to let people know if you're queer, if you're going to be writing a queer story. I'd have to find the thread, but that was in reference to that. I don't know who Gabby, like she is verified on Twitter. And a lot of people saw the tweets, but I forgot. I think maybe she had a YouTube channel, or I don't remember who she is.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know. I think you brought it up and I didn't know what it was, but that's interesting. I missed part of Martinez's live. I got in like kind of at the end of it, but that's interesting. They've started working with educators instead of fixing their issues. Changed their mind. Well, okay, there you go. Just gonna pivot, I guess.
I'm going to Better World Books.
So
then.
people seem to say Better World Books. So yeah, they got nothing right. 100%. Gabby Dunn was policing people being out. Okay,
that's what it was. Yeah.
I don't know. She was known for BuzzFeed and YouTube. Okay, used to work at BuzzFeed and started a channel with her best friend. Mara, you should just like tell us whatever. I don't know what all went down with this. Okay. There you go.
I had never heard of her.
What? What's BuzzFeed?
No, no.
That's how I feel though when you're like, oh, she's, and I'm like, huh? What?
Oh man.
Publisher.
I don't know about this.
That was
Publisher Marketplace.
So Publisher Marketplace, there was someone, it's like, I think it's like a platform that people who are wanting to become authors can use. It's very helpful for like, especially BIPOC authors to kind of see what's going on in the publishing world, I think. And something happened where I think you pay like $20, $25 a month maybe. And one of the users, a Black woman, was contacting their like customer service to say like, because she logged in, you know, maybe on her phone, maybe on her laptop, different places. And they were like, well, we basically like limited her account because we thought it was, you know, maybe scam or something. And she was like, well, I mean, because of the IP addresses. And it was just a really nasty customer service exchange. Like she posted the emails and they were like, well, your tone is this way. And it was like 101. If you've ever worked in customer service, this is not how it goes. And was just going. Yeah. That's I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was gross.
Ooh. Yeah, I didn't know about that. Wow. That's not cool. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, that's cool. They donate books for how many you buy. That's great. Awesome. Bye, Beth. Thanks for hanging out.
I like that she has her Twitter just logged. I was trying to figure out who she was.
Oh, interesting. She was defending James Dean when he was accused of rape. Oh. Okay. Thanks. Oh yeah, like clearly we're missing some of the drama here. This is interesting. Okay, Publishers Marketplace lists book deals so authors can see which agents are making deals when they're seeking an agent and which publishers are buying which books. Okay, so it's like important if you want to be an author, like it's useful. And so the fact that they were
more like marginalized authors.
It's expensive for what it is, but it's very useful. Interesting. Okay, got it. Cool. Anything else you guys wanted to talk about that we have not covered yet here or in the podcast episode?
I think we got it all.
Year, man. We covered a lot of
It's been long. Yeah, long year.
It has been a long year. Oh my goodness.
We need shirts like we survived 2020 or something. Or at least I won't.
We did.
Also listening and learning.
I know. We need like a button like I survived 2020.
And I'm listening and learning.
Yes. We need 2020 merch, essentially. Let's do it.
That's funny. Oh man. Yeah, someone should make a t-shirt. I survived 2020 by listening and learning. That would be great. Oh man.
I think we covered predictions.
Predictions.
Yes. Oh, that's thank you.
Beyond what's happening right now, obviously the ebook.
That's a good question. What predictions for the next drama in 2021? What do we think is going to happen?
We're going to keep having the same cyclical conversations on Book Talk and Twitter.
Yeah, about like consumerism, because that always circles back around. I bet we're going to have, okay, here's my prediction. I think we're going to have a BookTube anti-vaccination drama thing happen.
Oh no.
Oh, you're totally right.
That's my prediction for 2021.
There could be.
No. And then you know what else is going to happen? We're going to have, so we're already having it in Romancelandia, and there's a book convention that's attempting to happen in April.
In person.
April, they're trying to have Book Lovers Con. So I think we're going to have a lot of attempts to see if they can do it, and then get a ton of backlash, and then they're going to cancel.
Yeah.
And then I think we're also going to have people who are like, well, screw it, I'm going. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to have to cancel those creators for going out unvaccinated. And then that's all going to tie back into Bethany's thing about people not wanting to get the vaccine. And we're going to find out who's an anti-vaxxer on BookTube.
Oof.
I can't wait.
Oh, I'm not ready.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the 2021 drama. I think that could definitely be it.
It'll definitely be something we're not expecting. Maybe it'll be the rise of like an actual like drama channel in like BookTube, like with the beauty, because apparently my I saw a tweet that my videos don't really spill the tea because people couldn't handle it or something. And I was like, maybe someone else is going to start an actual drama channel.
You know, I think we do need to find an anonymous way for people to send us information, Jess.
Yeah.
That way we can.
Look, you know what, Jess, if you all wanted to take it on, I'm sure there are plenty of us who have stuff we wouldn't say publicly that we tell you.
I'm just going to make a permanent, open, anonymous Google form, like a Dropbox.
That's what I think I'm going to do.
And I'll be like, hey, it wasn't me. But I heard.
You know, it would be interesting to see, though, like if somebody did like a beauty style drama channel for book stuff. I think it would be really interesting.
Look, it would be super interesting. Because I think there is a lot of like petty drama behind the scenes that people don't talk about because like it doesn't have to be public and no one wants to like get called petty for it. But if there was that kind of drama channel, I'm sure there's stuff that would come out. That would be funny.
No,
most likely to be revealed as a cute.
No.
Oh no. Mara, this is exactly what there is a lot of messy booktuber on booktuber crime. This is true. This is 100% true. Like if somebody wants to take it on, it is there.
Yeah, I'm just like, where is it? I said it. It's just like I don't see. I mean, there's some petty stuff, but like I don't see everything, so I can't like look shit up. But somebody tell me. I mean, if you wanted to do it, Jess, it would be interesting to like occasionally do a thing of like, you know, you'd have to frame it as like, we don't know for sure, but it might be that these things are going on. Like if you're willing to take the heat from it, like it's there.
Like, that'd be fun. Like, let's go through the inbox.
Ooh, bookseller publisher drama.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. There's a lot. Allegedly.
That's what we'll call it.
That's exactly it. Allegedly. Yeah,
put that out.
Jess, there is a market for it. People want it.
To make that
maybe
drop
not weekly, but like quarterly or something, like an allegedly episode. That would be fun.
I feel like I need a whole setup. Like it's like dun dun dun.
I know. You might need to like make friends with like a lawyer before you do this, but like you know.
I know some people, depending on the size of their channel, they might have money. I don't have money.
Oh my gosh. No.
Oh, no. I know, but I was like, allegedly, don't come for me. That's just my opinion. I watch a lot of like true crime YouTubers, and I'm like, I'm not trying to get sued by nobody.
Look at this. We need to be you guys need to be the next Lady Whistledown. There you go.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh,
the team effort, okay?
We should just have an inbox and just get on a live like every quarter.
We could like have Jess allegedly and Izzy, you could be like the new Lady Whistledown. That would be hilarious. We need this.
So we'll just
be a blind react.
I think that would be hilarious. Just get on a live and blind react to this submission.
Allegedly too. I love it so much.
Somebody's like submitting to us like with rumors about ourselves.
Oh my God. That would be hilarious, actually.
It's hard to see.
There you go.
Down. You can't come for me.
You might be the right person for this, I think.
Don't
BookTube Society papers. I love these. These are like brilliant. We need to like write down these name ideas. The BookTube Society papers. Oh, this is perfect. Oh
yes,
my gosh.
Yes, you would. That judging face is perfect.
Down.
This is so funny. Yeah, look, this is really true. There is so much behind the scenes with authors, with booktubers. Like there's always petty drama that people just are smart. Usually the stuff that ends up on your stuff is the people who are not smart enough to keep their mouths shut on Twitter.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that goes down that doesn't end up on Twitter.
Yeah.
I just like people need a friend group, guys. Y'all, you need friends. Go talk to your friends when you have these moments. I'm in plenty of different group chats, and we all vent about things. Yeah, whether it's real life.
He's a detective, you know.
Yeah, it's perfect for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially if he just wears the whole time.
Yeah, you have to have a friend group because like there's always like if you're gonna be a creator or be a person online, like you need a group chat. Like it's just look, Avery, some people on Twitter really do need to get a group chat. It's so true. You guys, I love this. That is true. Some of it isn't petty. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Jess, you will have sources if you decide you want to go this route. I'm just saying. Okay.
Names.
Let's see what I can come up with before my next update.
Yeah, right.
Oh, thank you. My pride and joy.
Yeah, and stay in the group chat. Yeah. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my god. I love this idea so much. Yes.
Great idea.
My English bulldog as his co-respondent.
Yes.
There we go. The bulldogs spilling the tea.
So good. I love this. Okay, well, perhaps to end all of this on a very positive note, can we talk about like the Georgia runoffs and the fact that Romancing the Runoff raised like $500,000 and we saved democracy.
Oh my God, waking up this morning, I was just like, oh my God, is it official?
So proud of my former state.
Oh, just
so proud, y'all.
They did so well. Oh my goodness. I hate that she lost governor, but it's like she was meant to go on and focus and do this because the work that she and so many other people have done in Georgia is phenomenal. And I just love it. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's really awesome. And like, guys, Stacey Abrams has written romance under Selena Montgomery, so go read those. And she has a political thriller coming out this year, so you can pre-order that, which is super exciting.
Nonfiction books, and I'm like,
She has nonfiction too. Yeah, she does have nonfiction too, but she's got a political thriller that looks interesting coming out. Yeah. Christina Lauren, Sarah J. Maas, they were really kind with what they donated. A lot of people got together. It's been, and Stacey Abrams, 100%. She's doing amazing work.
We have seen in Georgia are so inspiring.
Yeah, read her romance. I read one of them, and it was really fun. It was like a romantic suspense.
Coming out soon, so.
Yep. Yes, voter turnout. Look, like get people. Like it makes me so happy to see. It's just really great.
Honestly, yes, she does.
I'm gonna nominate her.
Somebody was like,
I know it's not. I don't know if it's like 100% called yet, but like very, very strongly looking like they won both runoffs, which is amazing. I don't know if it's been actually confirmed, but
when I went to sleep, Austin was up by only like 4,000, but I think I woke up, it was like 15,000 his lead. And I feel
we're
like
really close to it not being a recount.
And what is Raphael's like the 11th Black senator, like history?
And the only one in Georgia, and actually I think only he's either the first or second in any of the southern states ever, which is wild, absolutely wild.
We have a Black.
Okay, there you go. They called Warnock, but not all. Okay.
He's a Republican.
That was the other. That's right. He was the only other one, I think.
Makes me so bad.
Which is so wild. Yes, it's looking really. It is. It's looking really solid. It's really really exciting. Cool to see. So. Oh, he was John Lewis's pastor. Wow. Oh man. R.I.P. John Lewis. That was.
No, I wish he was here to see it.
Oh, I know. Right before so much happened. Term limits. Yeah.
Oh. Wait, Izzy, are you in South Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
I'm from South Carolina. I'm Scott. Ew.
No. Don't worry. I email him. I email Lindsay all the time. I'm up their asses constantly. Constantly. I'm the annoying one. I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm gonna be annoying.
Yeah.
So Izzy. I love it.
Everyone's like wanting to give Stacey Abrams all these projects, and I'm like, she deserves an all expense paid first class vacation to wherever, and she needs a break. But we need other people like her.
Yeah.
Other states. I want South Carolina. One day I would love to see South Carolina turn blue. Actually, let's get rid of the electoral college, but this is not the place for that conversation.
We do, Mara, 100%.
Do that. Post-COVID, guys, we need to I
was already planning to come up to your way, Mara, post-COVID, to go to that big bookstore in Nashville. So, McKay's or something.
Yes,
I think that's what it's called.
It looks like fun. Yeah, post-COVID, we'll have to get some since we're not getting
bother you in New York City.
Seriously,
go to a convention or a book.
So with you.
A book con. Not BookCon's over.
They're not doing BookCon. I don't know if we're gonna get BookNet Fest until 2022. Haven't heard. I'm guessing it's not gonna be till 2022, but yeah. Okay, so we have a question. Before you guys go, what are some of your goals for yourself in 2021 for YouTube or personal life? This is good. I mean, I have a reading goals video, but this is different, so I like this.
Who's going first?
You can go first. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube, I'm trying to get better quality. I did a survey on my last video, see things I can improve. I need to get a microphone, various things. And personally, I mean, it's not book related, but I was doing really well last year fitness wise. And then COVID, close the gym, open the gym, close the gym, stuff like that. And then I was baking a lot over the holidays. So I'm trying to get back regularly in the gym kind of. And then anything else is really dependent on if the Rona wants to leave, because, we had all these plans to visit all these places and do all this stuff. But that's kind of, a bunch of things, but play The Sims.
Yeah.
I would call my year is going to be consistency. I want to find my yoga practice again and stuff like that I enjoy to move my body. And then reading general, I don't know. I want to make sure I keep connecting with more people. That's why I do BookTube, was to make friends because it's so lonely right now, especially. But I just want to keep connecting with more people throughout the year. I feel like I did that a lot in 2020, and I want to continue doing that in 2021.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to do some more stuff to see if I can see this podcast thing grow this year. That was a cool new project that I started in the fall. And then with YouTube, I'm kind of excited because I'm super close to one of my goals, and then I don't know, we'll see. I'm really close to 10.
I'm so excited for you.
It's wild. So, that's exciting. It's been a long time coming. So that's cool. Personally, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of waiting to see what this year is gonna be like, but I'm with you guys on wanting to be better about consistently doing things to move my body and get up and move around. I used to, because the thing is pre-COVID, I used to work a lot at a coffee shop and leave the house. And now there are days where I don't leave the house.
That's why I just want to be consistent with something. I don't really care about weight loss or gain at this point in my life. I'm over it, but I just would like to, I'm doing, Victoria said she's doing the yoga with Adrian. I'm doing that too, but at my own pace. I'm on two still. My shoulder was very sore after day one, and I was like, well, we're not going to do it today then. Wait a minute.
That's fair. So yeah, I think that's a lot of it. We've got McKay's. Look, that'll be great.
I want to go to a bookstore in general.
Oh, I see. I still go to the bookstore. I wear a mask and stuff, but bookstore. Yeah. I went to one yesterday because I was I'd been sitting at home for 3 days editing and filming videos, and I was I need to get out of the house. So I'm gonna go.
There's just no English bookstores here. So
that's hard.
A tiny English section. But I'm not putting on for that.
The PX probably has a limited selection. of books. I don't even know if my PX had books when my husband was in.
Okay, so they had books when we first got here. It was pitiful, but there were a couple titles in there. And then they got rid of it, and now they just have this end cap that's only military books. I'm like,
oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So
I love all these people doing yoga with Adrian.
I love all the people doing it. I really, you know what? I really like yoga too, and I would like to get back into doing more of it.
It's so hard.
It's nice. Well, it depends on what you're doing. I don't know. Like it. Yeah, to comfortably leave your house. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like after 2020, I'm limiting myself on goals because I don't know what the year is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably inside till November.
Hey, Margaret. Yeah, we got some questions about our goals before we finish up since we talked all the drama for like an hour and a half.
I wish we even had a romance. There's like literally military books and I don't want it.
Oh, man. I'll have to check her out. That's
you
cool.
need to. She's really good.
Yeah, I do enjoy. That's cool. I enjoy that. Yeah, I think like for like I want I don't know, like I'm working on some things in terms of I have like a big sweet tooth and trying to like decrease my sugar intake. I think that's like a big thing.
I just got rid of my lemon Oreos and I am so sad right now. Okay. I went to the grocery store and I almost cried walking past the cookie aisle, but I didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I think that's the thing is like in general, like I want to just like feel good and feel like, and I don't know. It's like a weird, I haven't talked much about this publicly recently because it's like a weird line to walk of wanting to like feel good in my body and like be healthy and take care of myself and be body positive and not feel, because I think like that's something I've done in the past where I got like so unhealthily focused on things. And I'm like, you know, like I like myself and I want to keep doing that, but I also want to like take care. I don't know. So it's like a weird psychological like thing to figure out.
I feel you.
Some people are very much on like it's the extremes, and I feel like there's always that gray middle. There's nothing wrong if you want to change how your body looks if you're going about it a healthy way. Because I have had, and I mean, I still struggle with negative self-image and you know certain things. But if you are just like, hey, I might want to make these changes because I would like this maybe to be a little smaller or my biceps to be a little bigger. I don't think there's anything.
Yeah, no, I think it's as someone who had an eating disorder / is always in recovery because it's like never ending. Like it's so hard, like this time of year especially, which is why I like to say like I'm trying to be consistent with something physical and move versus like the idea of like I have to cut things because then that's when I go off the rails and like you know I eat once a day and it's dangerous.
Right. I think the thing that I've sort of found works better for me is focusing more on like what I want to eat more of, I guess. You know, like of like, I don't know, like, which I mean, I do like pretty well of anyway, but you know, continuing to increase like vegetables in all of my meals and snacks, you know, like just, and like keeping track of what my diet looks like, because it's sort of like, you know, like I track my books and my reading because like I want to read diversely, so I track it. And so trying to do something, if you can do that without it becoming like an obsessive thing, like having like a way of keeping track of like what I'm doing, because that just on its own is helpful for me without even, I don't know. So it's like an interesting, it's a weird thing to navigate.
I'm doing that though. Like, I want to add more of this is easier than being like, let me limit X or I want to do more. And like I don't want it to be about like wanting to like look different, because like that was I wasn't happy when I did that in the past either. Like of like, oh well, I'll feel good about myself when I like get to this number or something. That just wasn't true. Then I still felt bad about myself and like judged my former self, and like that's not healthy. So like finding that balance of like taking care of your body and feeling good, but also like loving yourself and seeing yourself as like attractive or whatever, like your size or and things you are, you know, and like, so I think that's important. It's all balance. That's
I'm still working on it.
We're all working on it. Like, I mean, look, the world is hell to women and their bodies. So
and for all those years of seeing certain things. It's only recently that some things mainstream have been changing. So it's still like ingrained.
Yeah.
Social.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's important. This is why I think body positivity is like huge. And yeah.
Very
I'm
important.
happy to see things like spoiler alert, like it's great. So.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, I think like this is pretty good. Yeah, look, that's huge. Whatever that looks like, feeling good in your body. And I think that's the thing too, is just like noticing what makes you feel good and bad. And I think that's part of it, is like paying attention.
Yes.
And
not nitpicking, but paying attention.
Yeah. Wow. That's
marathon. You
way to go. Look, one of my best friends from college does like Iron Man competitions. I'm just like, you go.
I just want COVID to be over so I can go to Oktoberfest like we were supposed to this past year.
Oh yeah.
So I'm running just a different kind of marathon.
Good kind of marathon.
I love it. I'll probably just be over here marathoning books as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're intense. I'm impressed with it. Yes, this is absolutely true. Being picked apart by yourself or someone else never helps. No, that's true. And I think that's the thing. It's like loving yourself and having positivity coming in, I think is so important. And like that journey can take a lot of time, but it's important.
Oh, that would have been such a reward. Dang it.
I love it.
That is a good reward for running a marathon.
That is great. Fantastic. All right. Well, we have gone like way off topic from all the drama, but 2020 is over. Thank God. If you guys want to hear us talk about the rest of the things we did not cover here, YouTubers and authors behaving badly, there's like a little over an hour long episode coming in 2 weeks, Chapter 3 podcast. Link is in the video description down below. This week, the episode is also fun. It's like a discussion between someone who loved The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson and someone who hated The Way of Kings.
Oh my God, I loved it. I was cackling listening to it. It was great.
I skipped it because I was like, I have no knowledge of this book.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like,
I was listening to one of your other ones earlier, and they're so fun. Definitely check it out if you haven't yet, y'all.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yes,
we talk romance, sci-fi, and fantasy. So like if you like any of those genres, there's going to be episodes for you. So, and I've got more plans coming for the year that'll be fun. Thanks everybody. This was super fun. Thanks for hanging out. And have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Okay. Bye.